So, so I'm reading right now Ganino.com, and I'm reading about the 13 different bloodlines, the 13 different families. There's a lot of derivation to antiquity and the book of Genesis, which does depict a certain religion that studies the old books, the five books of Moses. And that's why, some religions are called the chosen people, because they were given the knowledge of balance and understanding balance. And then you have all the different religions that were offshoots, of which then took a side, didn't like the balance of life and death, and believed that everyone should live but then died someday, but didn't like the immediate death, but is okay with the long-term dying process type of thing. Because that's the only thing I could see why Christianity came out of the Jewish religion, was the fact that they took a side between life and death and then demonized death, but didn't understand it for what it was. But then when you don't have the ability to live indefinitely, then you're going to take a side no matter what, thinking whatever you're taking a side is the good side. Okay. And so I'm looking at also then the MKUltra, the very extreme MKUltra, where you have people like Britney Spears and Tiger Woods, and then the lower level MKUltra, where you have, people who are relatively successful in their job, they're able to, pass college, right? And be like a good little soldier of the system, of which a lot of parents out there want to send their kids to college, just think that they're going to be something amazing. And when they do go to college and they drop out, then they become discouraged, or, you hope that they can get into some kind of entrepreneurial job where they can make a lot of money. And that would be like I'm so proud of, Billy, Johnny, and whatever, because they graduated college and now they have their own, or they didn't graduate college, but now they have their own business like Mark Zuckerberg, right? And so this is the balance, parents, of where your kids have to struggle a little bit to be successful. This is so when we're exposing MKUltra, people are like, oh my God, MKUltra is so horrible. It's like so abusive, which, yeah, okay. I don't argue that some aspects of extreme mind control can be very intense, and not everybody survives it, as you've known if you've watched some of the conspiracy world out there. And so there's got to be that balance to where, yeah, parents, if you want really great kids, I mean, sometimes, you have to put your foot down. You have to be a little bit harsh, right? Yeah. But you got to make them struggle a little bit. Now, would I want people to have my childhood? I'm going to tell you, I could have died many times, not because of whatever I went through with my parents, but what situation I put myself into because of how I dealt with my relationship with my parents. And so, yeah, it is a risk. When your kids are out there, when you put your foot down so hard and your kid now is rebelling so hard, they're either going to make it, or they're going to make themselves, or they're going to break themselves. And that's the trippy thing. So if you want innovation in your children, it's almost like you have to almost watch the pressure and you hope they don't explode. That's the trippy thing. But if you want a safe little system, and hopefully you have the predispositions for the kid to handle the pressures of society, the pressures of competing in school, the pressures of competing in sports or whatever, then you kind of give them whatever they want, and you be there for their every single need, and realize and tell them that we're going to pick you up every time you fall. We're going to pick you up and put you back together, and we're going to give you all this money and do all this stuff for you, so that way you don't realize what it really takes to be successful and be innovative and be independent. And so I see that, from what I was raised with, that it was sink or swim for me. Do I wish I had a different way of I mean, part of me wished I had, but then, but even those that are like successful in the mainstream, they're still, if they're so happy with being a CEO of a company and having all their pleasures and all their money and all that stuff, and they're okay with dying, they're not going to listen to my information. And so they've been given a very cool temporary life where, yeah, they get to travel around, do all this stuff. and be famous for a bit, but they're going to have an expiration date, and they won't listen to my information. Believe me, they think I'm crazy because I'm very non-mainstream, very controversial, conflicting with everything they grew up with. And so that's like selling your soul, okay, and being used and being exploited by the system is where you're being a good little foot soldier. Some are low-level foot soldiers that they're able to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer for, a minute, and they're making a little bit of money, maybe a little bit of fame, like Juan Martinez in the Jodi Arias trial, or the prosecutor with this Minneapolis thing. But then they have an expiration date. They're great for a very short amount of time, like a flash in the pan, with a very limited lifespan. And so how then do you get a really great, innovative child who turns into a great, innovative adult? It's the pressure of the pain. It's like doing jelly juice. Okay, so if they're not going to do jelly juice, then you're going to try to do, the MKUltra. No, you're not going to do that. Not everybody survives that. See, making people great on the external world is doing the MKUltra, the extreme programming, the abuse, all that stuff. But really, to make a person great, they have to deal with their own predispositions, the pain of fixing their genetic line, where they know they're not going to die from the evolution if they were to actually deal with their predispositions. If the parents were, understood that they didn't have to abuse the child to make them great, that they would give them the ability to support their evolutionary process without anesthetizing them with pills, powder, supplements, and taking out their organs and all that. So there's a way to make your kid great without using the CIA MKUltra techniques and the psychological programming that you see in psychology and psychiatry. That it's very simple in actually the jelly juice. It's not abusive, but they still got to deal with the pain and the pressure of their body coalescing and fixing the genetic predispositions. If you want to have an amazing child. But if you don't want to have an amazing child, then yeah, you'll take out all their organs. You're going to give them whatever the fuck they want. You're going to acquiesce to their every little thing. And then they become then a very malleable, easily manipulated, and programmable for the system to be exploited. Okay? And that's pretty much the black and the white of it. Okay? Greatness and innovation comes from pressure. And the system knows this, but since the system wants to control you through your pain, the way they can make great stars is they program these kids like Tiger Woods, like Mary Lou Retton, like all the kids are being given to industries that are going to then shape them and mold them. And yeah, some of them you've seen then on Netflix, the stories of the gymnasts, the stories of people being abused in their childhood from their handlers. You see and then they glitch. They turn it, they glitch like, God. I mean, it's crazy. So what if we didn't have to do that kind of MKUltra to make great children to then turn into great adults? What if it's all simply through just dealing with your predispositions and knowing that you can survive the pain, whether it's the headaches, whether it's, feeling all the different electrical, voltages in your brain and your heart and your lungs and all that stuff, and you know that you can survive it. You realize that every single amount of pressure that I went through my jelly juice process of being attacked, but also through my physical process of the pressure of dealing with my predispositions, it has given me so much evolution and so much innovation. And why wouldn't you give that? If you're going to have kids, which a lot of you have chosen to have kids, what are you going to do to give them the best fucking foundation? The best possible, future. If they struggle now when they're kids, they're not going to struggle when they're fucking adults. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that if your kids can struggle with their predispositions and having to deal with all the things that you gave them in your genetic line, and they deal with it as a child, and then they get it that pain is healing, that they're going to have to evolve to the level of the environment, that every variant that comes through, they're going to feel it in their nose like I do sometimes in the morning, and they get it, And then you figure out, what strengths they have or whatever, and you can foster that, but also strengthen the weaknesses too. But maybe they might, geared towards, lawyer, or they might, gravitate towards being a teacher, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter, because at some point you're going to have to deal with a society that's going to teach the kids that they want to program in a specific way. And you get that. But then you don't know really what the kids can gravitate towards until their biochemistry changes. And right now they could be like, oh yeah, I want to be an oceanographer now when they're like 7 or 8 or 9, right? And then they do the J juice and their biochemistry changes, and then guess what? They want to go be a pianist, or they want to go be a who knows what. They want to go and write books or whatever, and you go and foster that, and you go and give them all the education, and they have a balanced biochemistry to handle the pressure of competing in a system like college, in a system like whatever that's out there that you have to compete to get into because it's so lucrative. I'm doing the best to exemplify balance, and there is a time and place for it. Yeah, absolutely, John. But that's what I'm trying to put out there for everybody, and on a global scale, is that kids need a little bit of pressure. Because let me tell you, that's what I went through. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't wish my childhood on everybody really, but it's what made me great. So where's that balance of where it's not so miserable where you're almost wondering if this person's going to survive? Because I'm telling you, I've been in situations where I'm just like, this person could kill me right now. I dated people where I could have died, okay, because I was reeling from some bad relationship. There were situations where, yeah, it could have gone either way. And that's kind of the crazy risk when you do put that much pressure on a kid. How are they going to react to it? And it's like, but then how great do you want your kid to be? Are you willing to risk everything? And that's the other side of it. So it's that balance. It's that balance, and it's a dance. It's a dance, and it's tough. I'm not a parent, but I have my dog. But I know when my dog was going through all of her healing stuff, I felt so bad that some of the stuff that she had to go through. But what am I going to do? Take her to the doctor and have things taken out and have them give her antibiotics so, she could deteriorate even more so? No, I knew she had to go through her shit. And I knew that she had to go through feeling, kind of, lethargic for a certain amount of time. But guess what? She's doing great. She found her way through it. Some dogs now are dying from the seizures out there. I'm watching people on my Facebook with animals who are like, I've gone through so many cats in the last, year, and I've gone through more cats. I've been adopting cats for the last 20 years, and I've gone through more cats this year than I ever had my whole life adopting cats. I'm like, holy crap, how many cats have died in that person's house because of the COVID? The COVID is evolving, and then people who can't handle the evolution, or the animals that can't handle evolution, are dying. Or they're experiencing seizures to where the person then's going to go take them to the hospital. They're not going to support those seizures correctly, and they're going to get anti-seizure medication, which is going to basically anesthetize their brain and cause more deterioration to where then the animal dies eventually. That's what's going on right now, and it's insane. And it takes everything within me not to go and comment, but I know that's their purview, that's their, for life to happen, death has to happen too. So I just hands off. They know who I am. I've talked to them on the phone a few times. They know who I am, but, they want to believe what they believe. Fine, I can't penetrate that. And that's the sacrificial lambs of our society, are those that are impenetrable. But that's what I want you guys to see, is that the pressure, so you don't have to apply the MKUltra psychological manipulations like I dealt with, but not to such a great level. But there is certain aspects of it, yes. But if you can understand that the J juice is a type of pressure that can make a person great without laying your hands on somebody, where they deal with their own stuff, then we don't have to have the crazy CIA mind control MKUltra that's out there that makes these Hollywood stars. Because some of these Hollywood stars, especially through the Disney programming, what Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, what they went through. If you read about that stuff, they went through some shit to be so great. And then some of them don't survive their adulthood because the programming starts glitching and they turn to alcohol, drugs, and indiscriminate sex. Or they go make their families and generate another child for the next generation to then be another, influence. And that kid's going to go through also aggressive programming to make them great. You know that's going to happen. And then these Hollywood stars just die because they've done what their job was to influence a generation. And so I'm giving you guys the opportunity to where you don't have to give yourself or someone to an institution, that you can make yourself great through your own pressure you put on yourself by dealing with your personal demons. That's what's going to make you great, is dealing with your demons. Oh, China and my dog had 30 seizures in a week. Oh my God. I feel your pain. It's insane. Yes. Jelly juice and food, and she is now more lively than ever before. We thank you massively, and Spirit was fine, not one seizure. Wow. Oh yeah, Sugar's gone through her shit too. She's gone through her, and now, now she's actually very good. I mean, she has a little bit of a tumor on the top of her head that I'm not going to touch because, eventually it'll go away, but that's what she's, that's how her body is reacting to the evolution. But she's went through some stuff like that too. Oh yeah, it's pretty insane. It's pretty intense. So, but that's what makes you great, is be able to handle the pressure that you have, that you hold within, that you don't have to have someone laying their hands on you to get you to do something. She was weeing and pooing. Yeah. Mine wasn't pooing, but peeing, yes. I get it, John. I get it. Yeah, that's the evolution. Now, is a human going to do that? I know you were scared, John. I was too, but I was up all night with my dog a few times, just to make sure she was fine. Oh, it's pretty crazy watching the evolution in humans and in animals. That's why people get so scared of evolving, because they think they're not going to survive the evolution. And yeah, when you support it with the jelly juice, you support it with the food supply, and you don't try to anesthetizing. Yes, tumor on her something. Yeah, well, Sugar has a little tumor on her back, on the top of her head. Then you realize that the dog and the human can survive the evolution, but it's unnecessary that you have to go through. And that is what's going to make you great, is the pressure of dealing with your predispositions. And so then you realize you don't have to spank your kids if your kids have a very balanced biochemistry. That's what spanking and corporal punishment is trying to control your kid through external means, like a type of MKUltra. But if the kid actually dealt with their predispositions internally, then you never have to turn to corporal punishment. You never have to go and put them on a timeout, because they're going to be very then receptive, and you will be balanced, they will be balanced, and it's just balancing people, reinforcing each other. So yeah, you guys, I'm telling you, this is some interesting stuff. And so I get it. So I'm reading about these 13 bloodlines, and I'm just like, holy crap, they understand the duality. And so that's why, some Asian households and Jewish households are very hard on their children, because they understand that the pressure makes you great. But what if we didn't have to do that kind of external corporal punishment pressure? What happens if we can do it internally on our own, where no one has to lay their hands on anybody, and you can still be great without being abused? That's what I'm trying to get across. I hope it lands over there. All right, bye.